What if I told you the secret to going viral was discovered before the internet, before TV, even before the printing press? Over 2,000 years ago, a Roman philosopher named Cicero figured out how to spread ideas like wildfire. And the craziest part? The exact same system still runs TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts today. Most creators spend years chasing hacks, believing the algorithm is some mystical AI god that decides their fate. They post daily, hoping one video hits, while others flop without explanation. But what if I told you it was never about the algorithm? After generating hundreds of millions of views for my clients, I realized something insane. I was using one of Cicero's strategies the whole time without even realizing it. And once you understand it, you'll never have to worry about the algorithm again. Because the algorithm doesn't pick and choose at random, it simply amplifies human behavior. By the end of this video, you'll know the 3 psychological triggers that control virality, so you can engineer growth on any platform, in any era, under any algorithm. Let's start with the man who figured this out first, over 2,000 years ago. Long before social media and viral TikToks, the Roman Empire had a different kind of algorithm. And one man mastered it better than anyone, Marcus Tullius Cicero. Most people know Cicero as a philosopher or politician, but what they don't realize is that he was arguably the world's first content strategist. Unlike other Roman leaders who relied on brute force to gain power, Cicero understood something far more powerful: attention. He figured out how to spread his ideas so they were practically impossible to ignore, and as a result, his speeches weren't just heard, they were repeated, reshared, and spread by the masses. One of the most famous examples of Cicero's influence came during the Catiline Conspiracy, one of the biggest political scandals in Roman history. Lucius Sergius Catiline was a Roman senator who plotted to overthrow the Republic. Cicero, serving as consul at the time, exposed Catiline's plans in a dramatic public speech before the Senate. But here's what made it truly viral. Cicero delivered the speech in a theatrical, almost meme-worthy way, calling out Catiline directly as he sat in the Senate chamber. The speech was so dramatic and memorable that Romans repeated its opening words. I'm not gonna try to pronounce it, but this is what it translates to: "How long, O Catiline, will you abuse our patience?" It spread through word of mouth, then written copies were distributed, ensuring even citizens outside the city heard about it. This was Rome's version of a viral video, a public call-out so impactful that Catiline was forced to flee the city in disgrace. Cicero didn't just inform people, he engineered a narrative that made it impossible to ignore. You see, Cicero realized something crucial. Not all messages spread equally. Some ideas faded into nothing, others became unstoppable. His speeches weren't just good, they were engineered to go viral. Cicero mastered the art of using status, emotion, and utility, these same psychological triggers that drive viral content today. And he wasn't the last to use this system. They influenced some of the greatest communicators in history. Julius Caesar, who wrote the Gallic Wars in simple, easy-to-repeat language, shaping his public image as Rome's greatest military leader. Winston Churchill mastered the use of short, repeatable phrases like "we shall fight on the beaches" that made his speeches unforgettable. Steve Jobs used simplified messaging and theatrical presentation to make Apple's product launches feel revolutionary. All of them understood what Cicero did. People don't remember everything you say, they remember how it made them feel and how easy it is to repeat. But here's where it gets crazy. Cicero wasn't just spreading ideas, he was using a system. A formula that made sure his words stuck in people's heads and kept spreading long after he spoke. His ideas traveled through Rome like wildfire, through word of mouth, repetition, and strategic distribution. Sound familiar? If you replace Roman messengers with the Instagram feed, you'll realize Cicero's system is still being used today. Imagine if he was alive today. His Catiline speech would have been a viral YouTube video racking up millions of views. The phrase, "How long, O Catiline," would have become a TikTok trend with people using it in memes. His supporters would clip his best moments and flood social media with them, just like political influencers today. Cicero intuitively understood engagement mechanics. He knew how to craft repeatable, emotionally charged statements that stuck in people's minds and forced them to participate in the conversation. And once you understand the system he built over 2,000 years ago, you'll realize social media algorithms, they don't pick and choose at random, they just amplify human behavior. And that means you can engineer virality just like Cicero did. Cicero's system didn't rely on luck. It wasn't about hoping people would spread his ideas, it was about engineering them to spread. His words traveled through Rome because they tapped into something deeper than information, something deeply embedded in human psychology. And if you look at every viral video today, you'll notice nothing has changed. The question isn't how does the algorithm work? The real question is, why do people share certain things and ignore others? Turns out there are 3 psychological triggers that have always driven virality, whether it was in ancient Rome or on TikTok today. And once you understand them, you can craft content that people will want to spread on their own. Trigger number 1, the power of identity. Cicero didn't just give speeches, he made his audience feel important for believing in his message. Rather than simply presenting facts, he framed his words as something only the educated and enlightened would understand. If you repeated Cicero's arguments, it wasn't just about agreeing with him. It was a signal that you were part of the intellectual elite. He positioned himself as the voice of the Republic, making his followers feel like they weren't just supporters, they were the guardians of Rome itself. This is why his words spread so easily. People weren't just repeating them for information, they were repeating them to elevate themselves. The same psychological drive exists today. People share things that make them look smart, like life hacks, niche insights, and industry trends. They share things that make them look trendy, like exclusive first looks, viral challenges, inside jokes. And they share things that make them look successful, like big achievements and lifestyle flexes. That's why we see things like "I just got hired" posts blowing up all over LinkedIn, people rushing to post their Spotify rap results every year. They're not just sharing for fun, they're sharing to signal something about themselves. So how do you use status in your content? The key to status-based sharing is about making them look valuable within their social circle. Think about how information spreads in friend groups, workplaces, and online communities. The person who always has the best memes gets labeled the funny one. The friend who sends actually helpful videos is seen as the one who's always in the know. The person who shares urgent or life-saving info becomes the helpful one in the group. People don't just share to feel included, they share to increase their standing within their social ecosystem. For example, in Canada, we had a recent massive snowstorm, and a video went viral explaining how blocked exhaust pipes on houses could trap toxic air inside, potentially harming families. The video wasn't funny and it wasn't entertainment, but people rushed to share it because it made them a lifesaver in their group chats. The person who shared it first, they looked like the hero. So when you're crafting your own content, ask yourself, does sharing this make someone look valuable in their social circle? Would a friend feel good about being the first to send this? Does this give people a quick way to boost their social standing by being funny, helpful, or insightful? If you make comedy content, think about repeatable memes that people need to send to their group chat. If you make educational content, frame it in a way that makes the sharer look smart or useful. If your content has real-world impact, make it easy to share so the person sending it feels like they just helped someone. Cicero made people feel powerful for repeating his words. Just like today, people feel powerful when they send content that makes them look good in their group. Trigger number 2, emotion. Cicero knew that facts alone don't move people. Emotion does. Instead of just explaining problems, he made his audience feel the urgency of them. For example, when he exposed Catilin's conspiracy, he didn't just list the facts, he framed Catilin as a traitor plotting to destroy Rome, creating an enemy the people could rally against. He used rage and fear to make the issue feel personal. The result? His speech was repeated across Rome, forcing Catilin to flee the city in disgrace. Just think about the videos that flood your feed with emotion. Just look at anger, controversies, hot takes, exposing videos, and then look at hope and inspiration like motivational stories and transformations. Then look at nostalgia, throwbacks, and childhood memories. People don't share because something is interesting, they share because it makes them feel something strongly. So how do you use emotion in your content? The key to emotional virality isn't just triggering a feeling, it's about making people feel something so intensely that they feel compelled to engage. Think about what happens when someone watches a rage bait video that attacks their favorite sports team. They don't just scroll past, they jump into the comments to defend it. Or when they see an insanely inspiring transformation story, they don't just like it, they send it to a friend who needs motivation. People share emotional content when it validates something they believe in. It's so extreme that they just can't ignore it, or it sparks conversation or debate. For example, this year's NBA All-Star Game and the entire weekend was a disaster. Players didn't try, the energy was low, and fans were furious. It was the second lowest viewed All-Star weekend of all time. So what happened? Social media flooded with throwback clips from the 2010s, comparing the golden era to today. Rage and nostalgia collided and fans jumped into the conversation. Angry fans ranted about how the league has gone soft. Nostalgic fans shared highlights of Kobe, Jordan, and 2000s dunks. Engagement skyrocketed as people debated which era was better. But why did this work? Timing. Nostalgia only works when the present moment sucks. It's debate-driven, the content naturally sparked discussion, and it's emotionally charged. People didn't just watch, they felt personally invested. If the NBA All-Star Game had been great, those old clips wouldn't have mattered, but because the present moment was bad, nostalgia thrived. And another powerful emotion is pain. Pain is one of the strongest emotions in marketing and social media because it makes people react immediately. One of my clients had a huge audience in a market that was falling apart. People were angry, frustrated, helpless. So we leaned into the pain. We made videos that validated their struggles. We gave them a place to vent in the comments. We positioned my clients as the person who gets it. The result? 20+ million views in a few months. The risk? Too much pain can make your brand feel negative. Eventually, we had to pivot the strategy because even though it was working, it was pushing the brand into a darker space. That's the risk of using pain. It's powerful, but if you overdo it, it can backfire. Just for a quick recap, if you want to use nostalgia, the present has to feel bad. People don't crave the past unless the present feels worse. If you use pain, make sure you have an escape. Anger works, but where does it lead? If you keep people stuck in frustration, your brand will feel draining. Give people a reason to engage, not just react. Emotional content works best when it pulls people into the conversation. Do you agree? Was it better back then? Would you try that? Simple CTAs that spark responses. Cicero weaponized emotion. He didn't just inform people about Catiline, he made them furious at him. That's the level of intensity you need for emotion-based content to spread. Trigger number 3, utility. Cicero wasn't just known for his speeches. He was known for giving people knowledge they could use. In his book, De Orator, he didn't just say, "You should be a good speaker." He broke it down step by step. How to structure an argument, how to use emotion to persuade people, how to win debates. His knowledge wasn't just entertaining, it was practical. If you used it, you became more powerful in conversations, and that's why it spread. People repeated his techniques because they worked, and because sharing them made them look like insiders. Because people don't just share random facts, they share things that make them look helpful, resourceful, or ahead of the curve. Like life hacks go viral because they make the sharer look smart. Breaking news spreads because the sharer looks informed. Financial tips explode because people generally want more money fast. The best way to describe utility is like this Pomodoro technique that goes viral all the time. A simple productivity hack. Work for 25 minutes and take a 5-minute break. Whether that works or not, I personally don't use it, but it has been viewed hundreds of millions of times across YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. But why did it spread? It's instantly useful. Anyone can try it immediately. It's low effort. There's no complicated steps, just a timer. It's easy to explain. One sentence and people get it. The easier something is to share, explain, and apply, the faster it spreads. Again, if we go back to the snowstorm video, we can look at how easy the fix was. You just check your house's exhaust pipes. If they're blocked, you clean the snow. Tens of thousands of people shared it. Why? It had an immediate real-world value. This wasn't a cool fact, this was life-saving information. The sharer became the hero. Whoever sent it was seen as the person who cares. People don't want to risk missing something important. When content feels urgent, people feel a duty to pass it on as well. So how do you use this in your content? You gotta ask yourself, would this help someone instantly? If the benefit isn't clear in the first 3 seconds, people will scroll. Does it solve a problem quickly? The more effortless it feels, the more people want to try it. Complex ideas don't spread. Quick, actionable ones do. Would someone send this saying, try this, or yo, this is genius? The best utility content doesn't just get watched, it gets used. If your content feels like something people want to pass on, you've nailed it. But not every niche responds the same way to status, emotion, and utility. Some audiences are heavily status-driven, while others care more about emotion or utility. The key to making high-performing content is knowing which of these drives engagement in your niche. Well, before you create content, ask, what does my audience naturally respond to? And are they more likely to engage with flex-worthy success posts, which is status? Do they debate or react emotionally to content, which is emotion? Do they share or save content because it's valuable, which is utility? Number 2, what kind of content in my niche consistently performs well? Go analyze the most viral videos in your space. Are they emotional, insightful, or practical? What do the comments look like? Are people debating, sharing, or tagging friends? Understanding what naturally gets engagement in your niche makes it easier to craft content that fits. Some niches lean heavily towards one trigger, while others are a blend of 2 or 3. By aligning your content with what your audience naturally engages with, you don't have to rely on hacks or hoping the algorithm picks you up. Because most people think they're fighting an algorithm, but the reality is you're just figuring out what actually matters in your niche. So don't get discouraged with low views at the start. If you understand which triggers dominate your space, you'll create content people naturally want to engage with. If you build content around what gives your audience status, emotion, or utility, you won't need to force engagement, it'll happen on its own. Social media doesn't artificially create virality, it amplifies what people already care about. And once you understand that, you'll never chase hacks again. So over 2,000 years ago, Cicero didn't rely on luck. He didn't hope his words would spread, he engineered them to be repeatable, shareable, and impossible to ignore. He understood what made people talk, what made them react, and what made them spread ideas like wildfire. And today, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube are built on these exact same psychological principles. The difference between creators who struggle and those who dominate isn't the algorithm, it's how well they understand the people they're speaking to. If you can trigger status, people will share to look good. If you can trigger emotion, people will share because they feel something deeply. If you can trigger utility, people will share something because it helps them or someone they know. This isn't about short-term hacks or gaming the system, it's about understanding human nature. Social media changes, algorithms evolve, people generally stay the same. And once you understand what makes people tick, you'll never have to chase another algorithm update again.